separation from Canada. It is something that has come up since the Liberals were given another term in government.
Clear majority of Albertans voting to clearly separate from Canada. So that's the starting point.
Canada was blindsided on July 20th when Alberta and Saskatchewan dropped a seismic political bomb, laying the first bricks toward becoming the 51st and 52nd states of America without asking anyone's permission. What once looked like quiet, loyal prairie provinces just erupted into the epicenter of a potential continental realignment. This isn't just a shift, it's the boldest political move in modern North American history.
It states quite simply, do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada, yes or no?
On July 20th, Alberta and Saskatchewan didn't just rattle Canada, they detonated a political bombshell that's still sending shockwaves through Ottawa. In a move that felt more like a whispered coup than a press release, both provinces quietly submitted preliminary frameworks for potential U.S. statehood discussions, triggering alarm bells across Parliament Hill, NORAD, and even foreign embassies. No public vote, no press conference. Just a high-level data dump, backdoor diplomacy, and a growing paper trail that screams, we're done playing nice. This isn't a protest, it's a pivot. And behind the silence, a storm is building.
She is calling for guaranteed access to tidewater for Alberta's oil, gas, and critical minerals. She also wants Ottawa to end what she calls federal interference in the development of provincial resources.
They've carried Canada on their backs for years. Alberta with its oil, Saskatchewan with its wheat, potash, and uranium. Billions flowing east year after year. But respect, a seat at the real table? That never came. Instead, Ottawa kept tightening the leash. Pipeline rejections, crushing carbon taxes, climate rules written by people who never stepped foot in a field or on a rig. In Calgary and Regina, folks didn't just feel ignored, they felt strangled. And it wasn't just oil execs grumbling behind closed doors. Farmers, truckers, Indigenous business leaders, small-town mayors, they've all been shouting into the wind. We build, we produce, we power the country. So why are we being punished for it? For too long, their voices were treated like noise. But now, the room's gone quiet because something real is happening, and it's shaking the whole foundation.
There's some highly placed people discussing Alberta separation.
There have been whispers for years, sure. But now documents are surfacing. Actual letters, private exchanges between Alberta and Saskatchewan officials and U.S. lawmakers, names tied to energy-rich states like Texas, Montana, and North Dakota. Quiet visits, off-the-record calls, political dinners behind closed doors. One Saskatchewan MP even got caught flying to Florida, allegedly to meet with U.S. defense contacts. He denied it, but the photos said otherwise.
Well, constitutions can be made and they can be broken. So although none of this is very likely, of course it is a possibility that there is an exit out of Canada.
And those what-if papers from American think tanks. Not just fantasy now. They're showing maps, logistics, integration frameworks, how Alberta and Saskatchewan could slot into the U.S. system not as guests, but as full states. States number 51 and 52. What started as a fringe movement, Wexit, has morphed into a machine. There's money behind it now. Policy advisors, U.S. consultants, and media influencers on both sides of the border are fanning the flames. Because here's the truth no one's saying out loud, this isn't about emotional revenge. It's not about waving flags in protest. It's about economics. It's about survival. It's about power.
Alberta is home to one of the largest proven oil reserves in the world. They're sitting on somewhere north of 150 billion barrels of oil. That potential is tapped every day.
Alberta sits on oil sands that rival Saudi Arabia in reserves. Saskatchewan has uranium critical in the nuclear race, and more than 1/3 of the world's potash, key for global food security. The U.S. knows this, and with global instability rising, Washington doesn't want to rely on foreign partners. It wants that supply locked in, inside the fence.
We exist solely as a colony, a resource colony, if you will, for Ottawa.
Meanwhile, Ottawa's been throttling these industries with regulation after regulation. Instead of opening doors, it's been slamming them shut. That's why CEOs are having quiet conversations with Houston. That's why land leases in Western Canada are now being snatched up by U.S. holding companies. Because the market's already moving, they're betting Alberta and Saskatchewan are headed for a different flag.
Really correcting some of the regulatory space that we have in this nation when it comes to the development of our natural resources.
And don't think this is some spontaneous rebellion. It's timed. It's strategic. Just like Texas is watching how far it can push independence talk, Alberta and Saskatchewan are taking notes. They're seeing what leverage really means when you've got energy, land, and leverage over the food chain. This isn't an angry ex. This is someone walking away with the gold and making new friends along the way.
To choose an issue that they care about and then being able to get enough signatures to put it to the people.
So ask yourself this. What if this whole story isn't about two provinces leaving a country they're fed up with, but about two provinces finally joining a system that actually values what they bring to the table? Because when the richest parts of your country stop feeling like family and start getting calls from the neighbors, that's not a protest anymore. That's a power move.
How we perceive life, independence, freedoms. And it's not that the East doesn't understand us, it's that they simply don't care.
Let's be real for a second. Money talks. And Alberta and Saskatchewan, they've been screaming into a void for years while Ottawa just pockets the check. Every year, those two provinces ship billions of dollars in tax revenue to the federal government, only to get a fraction of it back. It's like spotting your friend every time you go out, but when it's your turn, they forgot their wallet. Again. This isn't just political whining. This is math. Cold, hard, undeniable math. In fact, in 2023 alone, Alberta contributed $20 billion more to the federal pot than it got back. Saskatchewan wasn't far behind. That's not a small imbalance. That's a full-on financial mugging.
Circumstances have changed. We don't think we want to build this. The government and taxpayers should not come along and say, okay, we'll build it instead.
And here's where it gets wild. American companies already own more of Alberta's oil land than Canadian ones do. Read that again. More U.S. boots in the oil patch than homegrown ones. So while politicians argue about patriotism, the market has already started packing its bags.
Saskatchewan people and industries is very direct, and it's tremendous. In the case of immediately the differential is going to shrink, and Saskatchewan is going to receive a higher price per barrel of oil on every barrel of oil that we ship.
You think this statehood talk is just empty noise? Behind the curtain, it's a frenzy. Crypto billionaires, Texas oil tycoons, private equity sharks in New York. They're all grabbing chunks of Alberta and Saskatchewan real estate like it's Black Friday. Land leases, energy rights, infrastructure deals, it's all getting bought up with one eye on the future. And guess what? That future might just have 52 stars on the flag.
Trump's talk of a 51st state has normalized a new challenge to Confederation. And then domestically, those who've been keeping an eye on this stuff for decades have been warning that the idea of Alberta separating is not feeling as fringy as it used to.
Now let's take this to the next level. Geopolitics. Because if you think Alberta and Saskatchewan flipping the flag is just a domestic issue, think again. If they become U.S. states, it would rip out some of Canada's most vital strategic assets. We're talking about energy corridors, missile radar stations, and Arctic access. Gone. Just like that. And who's watching this play out with popcorn in hand? Russia, and China. Because nothing says NATO unity like a member nation losing two of its most resource-rich regions to its neighbor. The Kremlin would spin this faster than a TikTok trend. Western collapse, NATO fracture. America colonizes its ally. You name it.
It comes, it goes, but saying that, look, we're going to separate if you don't elect the government that we like, but if you elect the government we like, we're proud Canadians. If you don't, we're ready to leave.
Now think about how that plays out for Canada. Ottawa loses not just territory, but leverage. Suddenly it's like playing poker with half a deck. Energy? Gone. Strategic radar? Gone. Border insulation from U.S. policy shifts? You guessed it, gone. And while the politicians in general stress over global consequences, something more subtle, but just as powerful, is happening right under the surface. The psychological shift.
We're looking at a majority of people who are right now looking at Alberta separation as an issue that is real.
People in Alberta and Saskatchewan aren't just angry anymore. They're disconnected. And that's a much bigger problem. Recent polls show that up to 40% of people in certain demographics support leaving Canada entirely. And among the younger crowd, the numbers climb even higher. These aren't fringe Facebook groups anymore. This is real talk at family dinners, on TikTok, in bars and college halls. The phrase, "I don't feel Canadian anymore," isn't rare. It's rising. Social media's taken it and run wild. The 52 states meme is everywhere, mocking the maple leaf while wrapping itself in red, white, and blue. And it's not ironic. It's proud. Influencers are treating the potential statehood like it's the next great freedom movement, not treason.
She talked about how liberal policies have stifled Alberta's free economy, how it's affected people's livelihoods.
Even Indigenous communities, long fed up with Ottawa's lip service, are split. Some see a break from Canada as a chance to reset sovereignty discussions on better terms. Others are deeply skeptical, asking, are we just trading one colonizer for another? It's a powerful, emotional rift, and it's growing by the week. So ask yourself, when the loyalty starts to fade, when the pride starts to crack, and when the youth no longer see a future in the flag they were born under, what's really holding this together? Because at some point, it's not just about money, or oil, or treaties. It's about identity. And when that changes, borders are just paperwork. Like this video and smash that subscribe button to get more updates.